The three-legged stool of retirement, the old security has become the new risky. So what exactly is the three-legged stool? We're going to go ahead and dive into that so that you could see what the mindset was post World War II and what people have been depending on for a very long time. I think it's a new risky. I don't think it's not the secure. Times have changed. A lot has changed. So let's go ahead and dive in so that you can understand exactly what the three-legged stool of retirement actually means. So let's look at this. If you were to look at a stool right now, there's three legs on a stool. And post World War II, the generation of that era looked at planning for retirement in this exact way. Number one, they were going to depend on, or depended on, employer pensions. That's the first leg of the stool. The second leg is depending also on Social Security. That means the government, not only number one was an employer taking care of you. You went to work for maybe 20 years, retired, had a 30 plus year life after retirement, and you lived happily ever after, right? You depend on an employer. Employers cannot do that anymore. In fact, I'm going to share with you how a lot of that is almost going away. It's just too expensive for companies. Social Security, government now taking care of also part of your retirement. And then the last one is personal savings. So even with very little savings, not having to put a whole lot away, if the employer was taking care of you, the government was taking care of you, you could retire comfortably because you didn't have to really set a whole lot of money aside for you to have a comfortable retirement. So let's go dive into these details more specifically so you can understand what I'm referring to. So let's talk about the insecurity of Social Security, really. So the facts are there all over the place, and you just have to do your research so you could actually understand that even the government has been saying for many years that they're paying way more in benefit than they're collecting in taxes. So it's estimated that by 2035, the reserves are going to be completely done. So go to the website, go to the Social Security website, and do a little bit of research. Check out a lot of there are different parties that are actually talking about the exact same thing. So if you're depending, or if you're someone who's thinking it's going to depend on the government for this, I'd be pretty. I wouldn't depend on it. Even for the folks that do receive Social Security nowadays, the average is about $800 a month that someone receives from Social Security. So if you want to have a comfortable retirement, I don't know where in the U.S. you could live with only $800 a month comfortably if that's all you're going to depend on. In fact, when you actually look at the statement that they actually email nowadays, because they can't even afford to mail them out like they used to, when you start really reading the fine print, it's actually saying that Social Security cannot do it all. Social Security was never intended to be your only source of income at retirement. So that's Social Security for you. So here's why it's running out, or some of the things that other third parties like Fox Business is saying. Social Security shortfall trust fund to run dry in 2035, trustees predict. So this is from April 22nd, 2019. Obviously, I didn't dive into reading the article for you, but you could actually look this up. Also, according to ABC News, Social Security is running out of money with benefits on track to be reduced by 2035. This is from April 22nd, 2019. In addition, from CBS News, Medicare insolvency seen in 7 years, Social Security in 16 years. This is April 23rd, 2019. So the facts are out there. Social Security is something that should be at your forefront of your mind, thinking, oh my gosh, I need to start saving because I cannot depend on the government. When it comes to retirement, somehow people have this crazy illusion that they think that there's an invisible safety net that's going to catch them, and they think it's the government. When the government is putting out documentation, it's all over the place that you cannot depend on Social Security. Let's talk about pensions. According to U.S. News, Americans' dying corporate pension system. Very few companies still offer pension plans to new employees. This is as of March 2013, 2012. Again, the facts are out there. Companies cannot afford to be paying somebody for the rest of their life when they've only worked 20 years. They're just not in the business of that. They're in the business of making, for instance, widgets or cars or whatever that you went to work for them. So pensions are almost completely done. According to Forbes, pensions have already begun slowly dying a death by 1,000 cuts. Private sector pensions have declined from nearly 35% of the workforce in the early 1990s and to 18% today. This is January 5th, 2015. CNN Business, it just became easier for employers to dump retiree pensions. Since the 1980s, employers have shifted away from offering defined benefit pensions, which provide a guaranteed monthly income for as long as someone lives in retirement. Instead, employers now favor 401k accounts, a finite pot of money that becomes available at age 59 and a half. This is as of March 2019. Absolutely, it's a lot. The companies would rather do a 401k, and even those are actually reducing and dying out as well. Not many companies are offering, and the ones that do, you won't find a whole lot that do match. But the ones that do offer, they'll rather offer that so that they don't have to give a pension and pay someone for the rest of their life. Let the employee obviously, do their own savings and worry about themselves. And so, but again, I really believe that the mindset and is not there. People are not being educated at an early age to pay themselves first and to plan for their future. So it's a pretty sticky situation for a lot of folks because a lot of people are not prepared. You can no longer depend on the government when it comes to your future, when it comes to retirement, neither pension. So employers are not going to take care of you as well. So those two parts are already gone from the two-legged stool. So what's left is personal savings. But let's look at some of the facts. You know, according to CNBC, uh, here's how many working Americans aren't saving any money for retirement or emergencies at all completely. So people are not saving. They're not paying themselves first. Working Americans are still struggling when it comes to saving money for both their short-term and long-term goals. More than 1 in 5, this is 21%, don't save any of their annual income. This is as of March 14, 2019. So let's look at some of the reasons why, or some of the excuses that people give. I really believe it's a lack of education. People are not being educated on paying themselves first. They're paying everyone else, all their debt collectors, all their liabilities, and they're leaving themselves last. And guess what happens when you leave yourself last? There's not much left. But again, it's educating yourself. It's not about, oh, when I make more money, I'm going to save. No, people are just not being educated. So here's some of the excuses. According to Bankrate, what they're saying, this is what they've asked. Why aren't people saving? So what's the biggest reason you aren't saving money? The first or the biggest one is expenses. They're saying, well, all their money is beaten up in expenses. I would say that inside of those expenses, there's a lot of activities like entertainment, eating out, and such. Or they're saying 16% is saying haven't gotten to it. They just, for whatever reason, haven't thought about it. Again, they just no planning involved, right? It's not of importance. It's not a priority. Job isn't good enough. That's 16%. They have some debt. That's 13%. And 8% say don't need to save more. Interesting, right? But again, people don't know the facts. They don't know what's happening. Again, you can't depend on a pension from a company because those are almost dead and gone. And you can't depend on the government because that's already completely going down the hole, right? It's not going to be there. And then personal savings, people aren't being taught how to pay themselves first. So here's what I would do. You need to take charge of your future. And you start by getting organized and you gather a fact finder, taking inventory. You can't have all these excuses saying that you don't have enough to save. Well, if you can't save $1 today, then you're definitely not going to save $1,000 tomorrow. You need to start with where you're at today. And so people don't plan to fail, they simply fail to plan. Again, it's sitting down with a professional, making sure that someone could guide you, someone that could bring a non-biased approach, really tell you where you're at. In other words, take a snapshot where you're currently at, and then start painting the picture of where you want to be in the future. You could definitely plan for now and in the future. It's just about being organized. So my recommendation is take charge of your financial future and sit down with a professional that can help you plan for today and for tomorrow. So I hope you got some value out of this, and I hope that these seeds have been planted because you have to take care of you. You're going to be the only person that can take care of yourself. Don't depend on a government. Don't depend on a company. It's really all about you. So take care of yourself and take charge of your future. Thank you.